Hi everyone, I thought I'd come and make a video about tantrums. Now, I'm not a behavioural expert at all, but my cousin sent me a message. She lives in Australia and she said to me, how do you deal with tantrums? I'd love to know. So I'm going to dedicate this video to her. Tantrums, how do we deal with them? Very good question. Lots of different ways. For tantrum for me, for our girls, is when they're in a full meltdown mode. So we've either got full-on tears and crying, we've got some screaming or shouting going on, or on very rare occasions we've got them on the floor and they are screaming, shouting, they're kicking their legs about. Now bear in mind, my children are 4 and 2, so they are pretty young, and even though they can communicate, I always find there's maybe a little bit of frustration there because they can't communicate maybe properly yet, maybe that's the word, especially our 2-year-old. Even though she is very good at talking, there are a couple of occasions where I feel maybe we've just miscommunicated or she hasn't understood. So when we are in that full meltdown mode of tantrums, and they're crying or they're screaming or they're shouting or whatever, I generally let them have, I don't know, a couple of seconds or a minute or two. I really don't count it. And then I'll get down to their level and I'll say, would you like a hug? And generally, 99.9% of the time, they embrace that hug. And as soon as they come and hug you, the crying quietens and stops. And it might sound a little bit strange, but for our girls, it really does work. They quieten down, the hysterics stop, their emotions just seem to come back down, and we're able to all hear each other. And then I can say to them, and when I'm hugging them, by the way, I don't always talk to them, I'll just hold them nice and tight. I might say, shh, it's okay, but that's probably as far as I go, and I let them just calm down. And then when they have calmed down, I then will say to them, what made you sad? Or why are you crying? I kind of throw the ball back in their court because I don't want to put words in their mouth, and I don't always know why they're upset or why we've got to that point. So sometimes they'll answer with I don't know, which is a classic really, because if my girls have got to that tantrum mode, they really don't know why they've got there. They've just lost it and their emotions have just gone everywhere. So to calm them back down and have a chat, I think is the best. Sometimes they'll say, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I didn't realise that, maybe you could tell mummy next time and say, I wanted to see this or I wanted to do that. And then mummy would know. And obviously other times they'll say, oh, because I'm sad or whatever. So I think it's always a good point to throw the ball back in their court with a question. Why are you sad, or why are you upset? And then it opens up conversation, and we can kind of work backwards with the behaviour and get to a point where we can go, well, was that nice what you did? Or, just talk about it generally. And I always try and end the conversation on, well, if it was something bad they'd done, I always try and end the conversation on, maybe we can try better next time, or, or maybe you can just tell mummy next time and then we can talk about it. I'm a big believer also in consequences, so just slightly moving away from tantrums and talking about behaviour as well, because it is behaviour that leads to the tantrum. Maybe I overthink things a little bit, but I always think consequences are a good way of maybe dealing with behaviour. So obviously for us, if our girls are good, and they show good behaviour, even just on a general day, like for instance Hazel asked today if she could hoover one of the mats. We'd cut the girls' fringes and she said, can I hoover the mats? And I was like, and we were like, yeah. And she hoovered the mat and she got, we gave her a £1 coin. It's the first time we've ever actually gave her she doesn't really know it's pocket money, but the first time we ever gave her real money. We said, oh, you can put it in your money box and save it up. I also do things like, I've got a little some stickers, so if they're good I'll say, oh, you can have a star today, or I go and tell them that I'm proud of them, that they've made mummy happy, that they've done good teamwork. I try and give positive things to them, and obviously good things good behaviour gives good consequences. So I don't always treat them with like trips on days out. Sometimes I'll say, oh, we'll go to the park. You know, you've been really good, let's go to the park this afternoon. But most of the time I try and do it through words. So I'll say stuff like, you've made mummy really proud, or you've both worked really well as a team. And that just seems to make them beam. They just seem to smile so much at knowing that. And I guess it's that just inner self of being told you've been recognised for doing something good, and making them feel good. And the same way for bad behaviour. For bad behaviour, I'm a great believer in, if you're going to do bad behaviour, then there's going to be a bad consequence. So in our house, I'll give an example. For instance, say the girls are jumping on the sofa, and that's one of kind of my pet hates. I'll give them a warning. I just communicate with them and I say, you know, can you stop bouncing on the sofa, please, girls? Can you come down and get on the rug and have play instead? You can bounce on the rug, that's fine. I kind of leave it at that. If I walk back in the room or they're still doing it, you know, 5 minutes later, I'll say, right, look, I'm going to count to 3. And if I get to 3 and you're not off the sofa, then, you know, you're not having pudding. I will count them down. I'll go 1, 2. Obviously, if they get off before 3, they're still entitled to pudding. They've done what you've asked. If you get to 3 and then I say no pudding, I follow through with it. And that means that come later in the day when we've had dinner and it's time for pudding, one child might have to be sitting there without pudding because they didn't listen, or both, it depends. So yeah, I'm a big believer in consequences, because in life, as an adult, if you show you're polite or whatever, you generally get it back. If you're going to be rude or whatever, expect it back. So I am on the side of there's a consequence for your actions, and I always try and when I am kind of doing that, I don't know what you call it, parenting as such, when I do count them down, I count to 3 and I say there's going to be a consequence, whatever, I do kind of make the consequences personal to the child. I don't take away big stuff. So if I know I'm going out that day, I won't say, oh, you're not going to the park and stuff like that, because it needs to be realistic. So for us, I'll do stuff like, you know, there's no pudding at dinner, because I can sit through 5 or 10 minutes of one of the children or both the children having a little whinge or a cry because they haven't got pudding, but realisation sets in that they're not getting it because they jumped on the sofa. And they didn't listen, so I can sit through stuff like that. Or you know, you're not having a tablet this afternoon, so I make it relevant to the child, but I also make it so that it's not impeding on the other sibling or our family activity, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I do that. Tantrums, we don't, if I'm honest, we don't get too many at the moment. It's not to say we haven't had them, because I'd be lying if I didn't say we didn't get them. We do get them. When Hazel was a bit younger, when she was a bit more of a toddler, sort of like 18 months to 2 years, we did try like a naughty mat. I know a lot of people use the naughty step and they say it works really, really well for them, but unfortunately we can't do that in our house. Due to other circumstances, so we decided to do a naughty mat, and to be honest, I'm not a fan of it, really not a fan of it. You know, I feel for us, great if it works for other people, I'm all for that. I'm all for, as well, the parent knows best, the parent knows their child best, so they're going to know how to deal with bad behaviour. But for us, we did use a naughty mat for a little bit, but I found that Hazel very quickly clicked on to being able to move off the mat. We also had we had a baby in the house that needed to be watched quite a lot. I couldn't just make sure that Hazel was still sitting on the mat and stuff like that. And it would sometimes escalate stuff. It just didn't seem to work for us. It would escalate the situation more than it would calm the situation. I very rarely use the mat now. We generally will give a warning and count to 3 and take something away, or if I've counted to 3 and they really haven't listened, or they've done something really bad, like hit one another, or Rach went through a stage, my youngest went through a stage of biting, then I'll put them on the mat and sort of sit next to them and wait for them to calm down and have a chat then, and then we go say sorry. But generally I don't really use that. That's very, very rare in our house now. The other good thing I found, especially with my eldest, but not so much with our youngest at the moment, I found with our eldest, if there was a time of frustration, especially because they're so young, our two, they're 4 and 2, I felt like she can always communicate, and I suppose in some ways she might have been classed as a late communicator. When she was a toddler, we used to just say, it's okay, let's count to 10. So she'd get a bit et up and we'd say, let's count to 10. So as she was maybe like crying or a bit frustrated or going, I'd start counting. I'd go 1, 2, 3, and then obviously get to 10. I'd say, take a deep breath. I'd say, how do you feel now? And she'd laugh generally, and she wouldn't have a clue about being upset again, which was quite good because it sort of took her out of the moment, and it was able to calm her down and bring her emotions to a bit more of a happy level, and we could go, okay, are you okay now? And I'm trying to use that at the moment with Rachel. Rachel is just over 2.5. She will be turning 3 in July, and I am noticing at the moment, just this last month, I don't know if it's a development thing or if she's just having a little bit of frustration and testing the waters as such. But there are moments where she will just, it seems, from my point of view anyway, cry just for my attention. And I'm saying, it's okay, calm down, we can talk about it. And I have been trying to say, let's count to 10, because she gets a bit worked up and starts crying, and I'll be like, okay, let's count to 10. And she doesn't seem to be counting to 10 with me, whereas Hazel would start to count. I go 1, 2, 3, and at some point Hazel would join in with the numbers and take the deep breath. But what she does seem to be doing, Rachel, at the moment, I'll get to 10, I'll say, take a deep breath, and she will actually take the deep breath, which means that she is hearing me. She hasn't completely shut off, so she is hearing me. So I'll use stuff like that. Obviously, I don't know if this stuff will work for older children or not. I'm not a behavioural, is it therapist or something? I'm just a mum learning along the way. So for tantrums and bad behaviour, that's kind of it in our house. They are the things that we deal with. And I also notice, as a bit of a side note, what leads to bad behaviour and tantrums in our house is 1, tiredness, 2, hungry, and 3, just not understanding and miscommunication. They sound really simple, but I clicked on very quickly that, especially if you're out and things run over and the day doesn't go quite right and you haven't got a snack or whatever, the younger children, or my girls anyway, would get a bit upset or a bit cranky if they hadn't had a snack or they hadn't had their lunch or whatever. So I tend to try and preempt that now, and most of the time in my bag, not all the time, most of the time, there's like a little tub of sultanas or a biscuit or whatever, so that if we are running over, I can just kind of see the signs and go, it's okay, have a snack. Naps, I've come to realise with our girls anyway, that sleep is hugely important for us it is. And if they don't get that sleep, that the next day or the next 2 days, they can be really cranky. They're just not with it, they're not their normal selves. They're very, maybe a bit more clingy than normal, maybe a bit more cry than normal. So sleep, big one. Try and get the girls some sleep. Try and make sure I have snacks and they eat. And then the other one for us is, because they're so young, Hazel's getting a lot better now because she's a bit more older, but miscommunicating with them. I'm very big on being open and honest as much as possible with our girls. And it seems to work really well. Hazel she does like a routine, but obviously routines change. So as it's changing, I try my best to inform her and keep her in the know. And any question she's got, I try and answer honestly. I think most of the family will know that the 2 things I lie about are Santa and Easter Bunny. Apart from that, she knows pretty much everything there is to know on a age level. So yeah, if she wants to know where babies come from, she knows a basic level of it. I'm not lying to her, I'm not making anything up. She's getting it open and honest, because for me, I don't want her to go to an activity or a setting or to a friend's house and hear some information and then come back and question me and say, but you told me this, Mum, you know, which is right. I want her to be able to know that I've given as much truth as possible, that she knows she can trust me, and that she knows that she can ask me any question. I feel like and I'm sure any mum really wants that as well. And if I can get to that point, even when she's older and she can still ask me questions and she still feels able to talk and have a chat with me, and hopefully have an open, honest relationship, then hopefully as she gets into her teenage years, I'm hoping she'll be open and honest with me. And I don't want her to feel scared or that she can't talk or anything like that, because I know, talking more from a teenage point of view, when I was a teenager it was a lot more awkward to talk to my parents, especially after going to secondary school. So I guess I am basing it on my own experience, but we only learn from experiences, don't we? And I just hope anyway that being as open and as honest with her will benefit us in the long run, even from a small age. So even when I know I've had a sneaky biscuit and she says, Mama, what are you eating? I honestly tell her, I say, I'm eating chocolate biscuit. I know she's going to say, can I have one? But if she can, I'll give her one. And if she can't, because she's already had, I don't know, 3 or 4 snacks, I'll say, no, because this is Mummy's snack and I'm having this one. And that's generally okay, because I'll say, you've had an apple and whatever else, and list it off to her if there's a problem. So yeah, I've probably digressed slightly, but that's basically what we do for tantrums. If I haven't covered anything, if I feel I haven't covered anything, or you want to ask me any more questions on it, feel free, because like I said, I'm very open and very honest. I'll tell you what we do and where we're at. This isn't parenting advice. If you want to try any of it, feel free. If you're just interested in what we do, that's fine. You now know. And I guess as they get older, I might have to change tack. I don't really know. We'll just see how we go as they grow. But hopefully by able to having a conversation after they've got upset, or, you know, calming them down and having a hug and having that conversation with them, hopefully they'll learn that actually we can talk through it, and that we can get to some like common ground, and they'll know, okay, well maybe next time I can do this, and they'll learn from it. So that's it for tantrums. Good behaviour, bad behaviour. That's it really. Not a lot going on over here. Anyway, we'll see you on the next one when it's all back to normal and we're talking about home ed and activities and vlogs and everything else. And to my cousin, I hope you found this interesting, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!